He stood on the street, surrounded by a crowd and police officers, while they searched his backpack, as if they were hunting for a criminal, not a student. People were recording, whispering, and inside lay a trophy. Student of the Year. And when the officer pulled it out, everyone froze. But what happened next will surprise even those who've seen it all. But let's start from the very beginning. It was just another spring day. Jaden Moore, a 12-year-old boy with expressive eyes and neatly braided hair, was walking home after a school assembly. His backpack weighed heavy on his shoulder. It carried a brand new trophy, Student of the Year. He smiled as he imagined placing it on the shelf next to his books. At the street corner, he was stopped. Two white police officers stepped out of a patrol car, suspicion written across their faces. One was tall and broad, the other younger with a hard stare. "Hey, you," the older one said. "Show us your backpack." Jaden turned. "What? Why?" "We got an anonymous call. A kid in a dark hoodie might be carrying illegal items. I'm coming from school. I didn't do anything." His voice trembled, but he tried to speak steadily. "In the bag. It's just books and don't argue. We have the right to search." The second officer already stepped forward. The backpack was yanked from his shoulder and placed on the hood of the car. Jaden stood still, fists clenched, feeling heat pulse at the back of his neck. Cars slowed. Someone across the street stopped. A woman pulled out her phone. A couple of teens giggled and pointed at him. Whispers. Cameras. A shot. Not of a winner, but of just another black kid under suspicion. He felt his chest tighten, as if a hard knot had grown inside. The injustice was tangible, like a cold wind running down his spine. He didn't know what to do. Running would look guilty. Staying silent felt like betraying himself. So he just stood there, next to the car, on display, like an object, not a child. "This channel won't survive without your subscription and likes. Help me." One officer pulled the trophy out of the backpack. It was heavy, polished to a mirror shine. Sunlight slid across its surface, reflecting onto the faces of people who'd just been staring into that backpack like it held a threat. On the golden plate, the engraving said clearly, "Jaden Moore, Student of the Year." No one said a word. No, "Sorry." No, "We made a mistake." No, "You can go." Just silence. The kind that makes shame ring even louder. The officers exchanged a glance. The younger one suddenly looked down, like he wanted to disappear into his boots. The older one sighed deeply and, without meeting Jaden's eyes, muttered, "All right. You're good." He carefully placed the trophy back into the backpack and zipped it up, cautiously, like it was something explosive. Then stepped back quickly. The engine started. They drove off. Jaden stayed. People started to walk away, as if the show had been canceled. Someone slipped their phone into a pocket. Others kept watching, unsure how to look now. One man whispered, "Damn, just a kid." But Jaden didn't look at them. He couldn't. His eyes were wet, his throat dry. His whole body ached from the shame, but his face stayed still. He'd learned to keep it that way, before 6th grade even began. He turned and walked away, step by step. The trophy clinked inside his backpack with every move. Before, it had felt like a reward. Now, it felt like a weight. A reminder not of victory, but of having to prove his innocence just to be allowed to be a child. At home, Jaden didn't greet his mom. He walked past her, went into his room, closed the door. He didn't slam it, didn't throw the bag, didn't scream. He just sank to the floor, leaned against the bed, and stared at his hands, the same ones that had held up the trophy in front of the whole school just an hour ago, the same ones that now trembled. One thought spun through his head like unbearable static. If I were white, Would this have happened? And in that moment, Jaden didn't feel anger, not fear, not even shame. He felt tired. The kind of tired that doesn't come from running, but from constantly proving that you're not a threat, that you're worth trusting, that you're worth just being. And then he cried. Not loudly, not hysterically, but truly, quietly, and deeply. Each breath grew heavier, like even the air had stopped believing in him. And even then, he knew. No one but him would see those tears, and maybe that was the most painful part. The morning at school didn't start like usual. The hallways were quieter than ever. Whispers between lockers. Careful glances toward Jaden as he walked the corridor, still with his backpack slung over his shoulder. But now, no smile. Even his walk seemed heavier. Mrs. Anderson, the school principal, didn't hear about what happened through official channels. A student had sent her a video, 57 seconds long. In the video, 2 police officers searching the backpack of a 12-year-old boy, then finding the trophy and silently driving off. She didn't need to see more. By lunchtime, she had assembled a team. The next day, the auditorium was full. Parents, teachers, students, members of the school board. 2 police officers, in uniform, but nothing like how they had looked on the street that day. And Jaden, sitting by the wall, as if hoping not to be noticed. But his name was spoken anyway. Jaden, Mrs. Anderson said, standing at the microphone. If you're ready, you can speak. We're all here to listen. A pause. He slowly stood, walked to the mic hesitantly, fingers clenched into fists, as if holding all his fear inside. He stood before the crowd, adults, peers, police. He didn't shout. He didn't blame. They stopped me, not because I did something, but because I looked like someone they were afraid of. I don't know what you're supposed to look like to seem innocent. His voice trembled. I just don't want to be scared anymore when I walk home. The room fell silent, not the kind that comes from awkwardness, the kind where people truly listen. There was a trophy in my backpack. I got it for effort, for behavior, for success. But in that moment, no one even thought that was possible, that I might just be a good student. He stopped. Someone began clapping, then another, and in seconds, a standing ovation, not out of pity, out of respect. Mrs. Anderson walked up to him. Thank you, Jaden, she said, hugging the boy in a way no one hugs just a student. You did what even many adults can't. Then she took the mic and, with a firm voice, announced, Starting today, we're launching a new initiative, See the Human. It will include workshops, dialogues, training for everyone, teachers, parents, police, ourselves, because we cannot leave this unanswered. And in that moment, through all the fear, hurt, distrust, and pain, something shifted, just a little, but enough for Jaden to feel, for the first time in days, that his voice had been heard, not because he shouted, but because he told the truth. And that was a beginning, not the end. But finally, the beginning. The first article appeared in the local paper with the headline, Student of the Year Stopped by Police. What was in Jaden Moore's backpack? 2 days later, regional news picked it up. A week later, national coverage. Jaden's photo, in his school uniform holding his trophy with a calm, tired gaze, spread across social media. Letters poured in by the dozens, from teachers in other states, from teens writing, Now I'm not afraid to be myself, from activists, veterans, mothers. One postcard came from an elderly man in Chicago. I'm white. I'm 60 years older than you, but I cried reading your story. because you reminded me what a real human being should be, whether at 12 or at 90. The school received a request from the organizers of a National Youth Human Rights Conference in Washington, D.C. They invited Jaden to speak, not as a victim, as a leader. He traveled there with his mom, stood on stage in a light shirt and a gray blazer, borrowed from his uncle. He was nervous, held a sheet of paper but barely looked at it. He spoke from the heart. They didn't ask my name. They just stopped me, and it changed my life. But I don't want anyone else's story to start that way. He didn't blame. He inspired. Sometimes you think you have to grow up to change the world. But maybe all it takes is one story told at the right time. After the speech, teens, adults, journalists came up to him. But Jaden didn't feel like a celebrity. He felt heard. Later, back home, he sat on the floor of his room, the same place where, weeks earlier, he had quietly cried over injustice. The same backpack, the same trophy. Only now, beside them, lay a letter from the school board officially inviting him to help develop a new anti-discrimination curriculum. Jaden didn't yet know who he was going to become, but he knew one thing. His voice wasn't something anyone could take from him. It was something he could give to others. And that was his real victory. Not the medal, not the applause, but the fact that he turned his pain into a path, for himself and for others.